What if the reason you feel trapped right now isn't your bank account, your exhausting job, or bad luck? A silent, invisible force is controlling every decision you make. Once you unlock it today, your entire reality shatters. Let me show you what it is. Have you ever looked at someone who started with absolutely nothing, faced impossible odds, and still built a life you secretly dream of? Meanwhile, you work until your bones ache. You try so hard, yet you feel completely stuck in the exact same place. It is a terrifying thought, but what if the reason you are not moving forward has nothing to do with your bad luck, your empty bank account, or the heavy burdens you carry? What if the invisible chain holding you back is sitting right inside your own head? If you want to discover the silent force that controls your destiny, I need you to stay with me until the very last second of this video, because what we uncover today will shatter the excuses that keep you trapped. Welcome to Glaze English. If you are ready to build a mind that cannot be broken, please hit that subscribe button right now so we can keep creating these videos and growing together. I want to speak to you not as an expert looking down from a stage, but as someone standing right next to you in the dirt. My name is Din, and I know exactly how heavy life gets. I know the feeling of waking up exhausted, facing a demanding job where you handle complex problems and heavy machinery all day, and then coming home trying to find the energy to learn a new language or build a personal dream. Some days, the pressure feels like it will crush you. We look around and easily convince ourselves that success belongs to people with richer parents, better timing, or an easier environment. We use our exhausting daily grind as a shield to protect us from the painful truth. But let us be brutally honest for a moment. Put two different people in the exact same difficult situation. Give them the same heavy workload, the same lack of sleep, and the same unfair problem. One person will break down, complain, and surrender to the situation. The other person will take a deep breath, study the friction, and use it to climb higher. The difference between them is never the situation itself. The difference is their mindset. A weak mind looks at a sudden problem and sees a massive, terrifying wall. It asks, "Why is this happening to me?" But a strong mind looks at that exact same wall and sees a necessary lesson. It asks, "What can I learn from this?" Today, we are going to learn how to stop seeing our struggles as enemies and start using them as the ultimate teachers. To make that shift from seeing walls to seeing lessons, we have to step up and take the steering wheel of our own lives, even when the road is rough. This brings us to the first massive step in our journey, taking absolute responsibility. I want you to think about how incredibly easy it is to blame everything around us when things fall apart. When I come home from a long, exhausting shift at the plant, covered in dust and completely drained, it is so easy to say, I am simply too tired to open my English book. It feels comforting to blame the heavy machinery, the loud noises, the difficult managers, or just the unfairness of a 12-hour workday. Blaming the world feels like a warm blanket. But let me tell you the harsh truth I had to learn the hard way. That warm blanket is slowly suffocating your future. When we blame outside forces, we are handing over our personal power to them. We are literally saying that our boss, our busy schedule, or the economy controls our destiny. Mentally strong people refuse to be victims of their circumstances. If you want to change your life, You have to look directly in the mirror and say, "This is my mess, this is my dream, and I am the only one responsible for my choices." Taking responsibility is not about punishing yourself for past mistakes. It is about taking back your power. We cannot control the sudden problems at work, and we cannot control how other people treat us. But we have total control over our reaction and our effort. The exact moment you stop making excuses is the exact moment your real mental strength begins to grow. Once you take the wheel, you will immediately face a very dangerous passenger in your car, which is your own inner voice. This is the second vital lesson: controlling your thoughts. Your mind is a powerful machine, but it naturally leans toward fear. When you try to start something new, like practicing a foreign language, speaking on a camera, or preparing for a big career move, your mind will scream at you to stop. It will say terrible things like, "You are not smart enough for this," or "People will judge your accent," or "You are too old to change your path." Most people hear that inner voice and they believe it completely. They let that fear control their actions, so they stay quiet and safe in their comfort zone. But mental strength means watching those thoughts very closely. You do not have to believe every negative thought that pops into your head. When that voice tells you that you cannot do it, I want you to pause. Ask yourself, is this actually true? Or am I just exhausted and afraid of the unknown? Do not let your fear disguise itself as reality. We must speak to ourselves with strict discipline. Instead of saying, "I always fail when things get tough," train your brain to say, "I am learning how to handle difficult situations, and I am getting better every single day." Your thoughts become your direction. If you feed your mind with constant worry, you will walk straight towards failure. If you feed it with absolute responsibility and courage, you will build a powerful mind that nothing can break. Once you build that courageous mind, you must learn how to put it into action by avoiding the most dangerous trap of all: the illusion of the perfect moment. This brings us to the third lesson, which is choosing to stay consistent instead of trying to be perfect. So many talented people freeze and stop moving forward because they believe they need flawless conditions to start. I used to be exactly like that. I would wait for a day when I felt fully rested, highly motivated, and completely free of distractions to sit down and study. I told myself I needed the perfect desk, the perfect mood, and a totally quiet house. But the brutal reality of my life, and probably yours too, is that perfect conditions never actually arrive. When you work long hours managing production technology at a dusty plant, and then come back to help with the daily chores on a small family farm, you are almost never going to feel perfectly rested. My wife works tirelessly at home to keep everything running, and watching her quiet, steady effort taught me a hard truth. If I wait for the perfect, stress-free day to work on my dream of moving to Australia and securing that work visa, I will be waiting until the day I die. Perfection is a beautiful lie that makes us terrified of taking the first real step. Consistency, on the other hand, is messy, imperfect, and incredibly powerful. We often rely heavily on motivation, but motivation is just a temporary emotion that changes like the weather. Some mornings, I wake up with a fire in my chest, ready to conquer the world and ace every English test. But most mornings, my bones ache, my mind is foggy, and the only thing I want to do is hit the snooze button and sleep for another hour. If you only put in the hard work on the days you feel excited, your progress will constantly crash and stop. Mentally strong people do not ask themselves if they feel happy about doing the work today. They ask if the work is strictly necessary for the future they are fighting to build. We have to grind every single day because we have a clear picture of the life we want. A massive goal is never achieved in one sudden heroic leap. It is built by showing up for 20 minutes of reading when your eyes are heavy and burning. It is built by recording one simple video, even when you think your speaking skills sound terrible. Every single time you keep a small promise to yourself, especially when it is physically and mentally difficult, you build a solid foundation of deep self-trust. You prove to your own brain that you are a reliable person who does not quit. Stop waiting for the stars to align perfectly in the sky. Embrace the messy, uncomfortable, and very slow process of daily effort. Small, broken, imperfect actions repeated every single day will always beat a perfect plan that you never start. Let go of the heavy pressure to be flawless, and just promise yourself that you will simply show up today. Just as showing up every day trains your brain to be reliable, you must also train it to handle the inevitable moments when your daily effort ends in a painful crash. This brings us to a harsh but beautiful truth. You must completely redefine what failure means to you. Most of us are terrified of failing. A weak mind looks at a mistake and whispers, "I am a failure. I am simply not good enough to do this." But a strong mind looks at that exact same failure and says, "This is not my end. This is just the raw data I need to improve." I remember times, especially when I was pushing myself through an intense 3-month internship over at the KK4 plant in Malaysia, where I made mistakes that felt deeply humiliating. I felt entirely overwhelmed, wondering if I was truly smart enough to master that level of production technology. But in my daily work, when a massive, complex machine breaks down on the factory floor, my team does not sit in the dust and cry about our terrible luck. We grab our tools, calmly open the machine, trace the fault, find the broken part, fix it, and restart the entire system. We need to treat our personal lives with that exact same mechanical calmness. Failure is just feedback. Every mistake you make, whether it is completely failing an English speaking test or making a foolish decision with your cryptocurrency investments, is not a permanent tattoo of shame. It is just a strict teacher highlighting your weak spots so you can fix them. You must separate your mistakes from your core identity. You are not a failure. You are simply a person learning how to adjust your strategy. However, to have the courage to analyze your failures without giving up, you must fiercely protect the environment where your mind lives. This is our next vital lesson. Guard your mental energy like it is your most precious resource. Your mindset absorbs the world around you like a dry sponge. If you spend your limited, precious free time surrounded by people who constantly complain about their lives, gossip about others, or laugh at your big dreams, your own mind will slowly become cynical and weak. I had to learn to draw a very hard boundary. When I drive back to my home in Tay Ninh after a loud, exhausting 12-hour shift, I desperately need peace. I simply cannot afford to waste my remaining energy on toxic arguments or unnecessary drama. Protecting your mind is the ultimate form of self-respect. It means finding the quiet courage to say the word no. You have to say no to demands that drain you, and say no to the endless noise of negative news on your phone. Instead, you must intentionally choose a growth environment. For me, that sometimes means stepping away from the noise to find quiet focus in simple things, like taking care of the aquaculture ponds in my backyard. In a modern world filled with loud opinions, heavy expectations, and constant notifications, absolute silence is a rare medicine. Silence is where your mind actually heals and resets. Do not be terrified of sitting alone in the quiet. Use that still time to process your heavy days, forgive yourself for your mistakes, and protect the small fire inside you from being blown out by the cold negativity of the outside world. Once you find that healing silence and clear the toxic noise from your life, you realize that protecting your mind is just the preparation for the final lifelong lesson, practicing your mental strength every single day. People often believe that true mental toughness is forged only during massive, devastating life events, but the reality is that it is built quietly in the shadows of your ordinary daily routines. Think of your mind exactly like a physical muscle. If you only exercise it once a year during a sudden crisis, that muscle will completely tear under the heavy weight. You have to train your brain through tiny, invisible daily habits. For me, that quiet training happens when the alarm rings long before the sun comes up, and my exhausted body begs for more sleep, but I know I need to study for my visa requirements before I drive to the cement plant. It happens when a piece of equipment suddenly breaks in one of my fish ponds, and instead of losing my temper and complaining about my luck, I force myself to take one deep, steady breath before I grab my tools. These invisible micro-habits, choosing calm logic over sudden anger, reading one more page when your eyes burn, or simply sitting in the evening to honestly reflect on the day's mistakes, are the exact repetitions that build an unbreakable foundation. We are playing a very long and challenging game, and I want you to remember that developing this mindset is not about becoming a cold, flawless robot that never feels sadness. You are human, and you are going to have terrible days where you feel completely defeated. You will study for months and still struggle to speak clearly. You will work incredibly hard, and the results might still be totally invisible to the rest of the world. But a strong mindset means that even when life pushes you into the dirt, you absolutely refuse to stay down. Do not look at the person next to you and feel bitter that their journey looks so much easier or faster. Your path is uniquely yours. Let them rush for quick success. We are going to walk steadily and build something that lasts forever. We are simply trying to be 1% better, 1% stronger, and 1% braver than the person we were yesterday. No temporary failure or heavy burden can permanently break a mind that refuses to quit. Embrace your messy daily grind. Deeply respect your own slow progress, and trust that every small, heavy step is bringing you closer to the future you deserve. Keep learning, keep pushing your limits, and keep moving forward with me. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next chapter. Looking back at everything we have explored today, I realize that building a strong mindset is not some kind of magic trick reserved for a few lucky people. It is the dirty, quiet, and exhausting work we do when absolutely no one is holding a camera or cheering us on. I often think about my own long nights staring at difficult English grammar rules long after my shift at the plant is over, or pushing through the physical fatigue to check the water in my fish ponds while my wife works tirelessly to keep our small farm running. It is always so incredibly tempting to just close the books, quit the extra work, and accept a comfortable, average life. But the profound lesson I want us to take away from this entire journey is that your current reality is simply a reflection of your past thoughts, and your future is being built by the thoughts you actively choose today. The real tragedy in life is not failing a test or missing a goal. The real tragedy is living your whole life and never discovering how strong you actually are. How do we actually apply this deep lesson to our messy, busy lives right now? You do not need to make a massive, dramatic change or have a perfect plan tomorrow. You apply mental strength in the very next small decision you make. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm clock rings in the dark and your tired body begs for 10 more minutes of sleep, do not negotiate with your weakness. Put your feet on the floor and stand up. When a complex problem suddenly appears at your job, or a negative person tries to drag you into a useless argument, do not react with sudden anger. Take one deep breath, remember to protect your precious energy, and calmly ask yourself what the smartest next step is. You apply mental strength simply by keeping the tiny, silent promises you make to yourself every single day. We are in this long, difficult fight together, and I truly want to know how you are handling your own daily battles. I have a very simple question for you, and I would be honored if you took a moment to leave your thoughts in the comments below so our whole community can learn from your perspective. What is one small positive habit you are going to start today to make your mind stronger? Please write it down in the comments, because declaring your intention is the very first step to making it real. Finally, if you felt a connection to our story today and want to keep growing with me, please hit that subscribe button to support Glaze English. Your support gives me the absolute drive to keep studying, keep pushing, and keep creating these videos for you. Thank you for your time, and I will see you soon.